Hi, everybody. I'm Penny.
And I'm Angela.
And we've decided that we're going to come and inspire you with information about color and some amazing, interesting stories about how color can transform your life and support you and how you can play with color. So welcome. This is our first one and we're quite excited about this. So the color we've chosen today.
I think they can guess.
Maybe. I mean, what are we wearing?
Although I could be confusing matters a little bit.
And it is the month of love.
I actually had to see why I need pink because I actually had to think about that.
Yeah, this is the month of love. And for those of you like Angela and I that have no significant others, how about we learn to really love ourselves? How about you can touch yourself and stroke your body? And oops.
That's a different show, Penny.
That's a whole different show. Okay. Okay. No, let's keep this PG, shall we? So we're going to talk to you today about the color pink. And pink is just it's one of my favorite colors because it's just so soft and it's almost like, doesn't it make you think of babies and bunnies and kitties?
And everything's soft and fluffy and lovely.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you do so much work with cats.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah. Tell us what you do with cats.
So, well, I have way too many of my own, but I feed a feral colony and we've trapped and neutered them. So we've got that all under control. So yeah, we go twice a week and we feed them and water them and make sure that they're all looked after.
Do they allow you to give them any love?
Over the years, we've had two, and unfortunately, we've lost both of them. Both of them were black cats, the most beautiful. One eventually let me even pick her up.
Interesting.
And then she just disappeared. And then, in my kind of maybe naive way, I'm hoping somebody picked her up and took her home. And then we had an awesome one, and I think it was probably her sibling. He was awesome, and he also let us touch him. And then he got very sick. He had feline AIDS, so we actually had to put him to sleep. So it's a tough one. You talk about needing color to support you in it sometimes because we have to make tough decisions but they're happy and it's a really, really lovely thing. I love doing it.
Oh, so beautiful. Yeah. And it's interesting because I've just about 2 years ago got my first black cat. And how loving are they?
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about black cats.
And they have such a bad reputation.
What?
People are very superstitious of black cats. So black cats, you'll find a lot of black cats at the shelters. Because people are very superstitious about them and they're awesome.
Well, let me tell you, talking about love, for me, not every morning, maybe once a week, I get some special love from my black cat, whose name is Babaji. And when I'm lying in bed, and I think he picks up when I need a little bit of extra love, because he comes and he cuddles right here next onto my shoulder and he touches my face. And we have about 10 or 15 minutes of loving, bonding, and just such a beautiful space. And he's also my healer cat. So whenever I'm doing treatments on people, if he's standing outside mowing and mowing and mowing to come in, it's because he wants to support the body. And quite often he'll climb on the body and just lie spread-eagled on the person until he feels it's enough. And then he gets up and
moves off. Yeah. It's really, I mean, it's so interesting with the cats because people think that dogs are unconditional love and cats are quite, standoffish, but actually they're not. They're just a little bit more independent.
Yeah.
But they are so intuitive and they know what you need, and that the vibration of a cat's purr is actually one of the highest vibrational sounds. So it's a very healing vibration.
And I've heard that if you have them on your chest when they purr, it heals the heart.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So you can bring the pink into your life with your cat, no matter what color the cat is. You don't have to go and dye it pink.
Now there's an idea.
So just on the talking about pink, I just thought we could share some amazing stories. So at Divine Space, I make a whole range of colored oils and sprays. And if you can see those behind us here, the pinky bottles, those are angel sprays. And then I've got two different pink oils. There's one in my light matrix range called the Pink Light Matrix. And then Archangel Shamuel is in the Archangel range of oils that I make. And of course, the Archangel Shamuel is all about perfect relationships and opening the heart and just allowing the love in, whether it's love of self or love of your animals or love of your children or love of your beautiful home that you've created. It's just about allowing the love in.
Yeah.
So the oils you would use on the body after you showered or after you've bathed, or even in the bath as a bath oil, or you can anoint your body, and suggested that those are used morning and evening so that it really holds you and wraps you in that loving vibration for the whole day. And the sprays you can use around yourself or around your home. Now, here's a good story for those that have impossible teenagers. Spray yourself and spray the room as they're walking in the gate when they're coming back from school, and you'll be amazed at how softer and kinder they become and how it seems to just change the vibration. And I've got some cool stories to share with you on how they work, and I'm sure you have too.
Yeah, I've got one, well, similar to that, but more in the context of kind of work, corporate work.
Yeah.
So when I was still doing that, so before I started doing this full time, I'm a film editor. But with a lot of in advertising, there's a lot of ego.
Oh yeah,
lots and lots. And when I was still doing a lot of it, basically what would happen is you edit, and then you have to work with the director, and then you have to work with the agency, and then you have to work with the client.
And keep them all happy.
And keep them all happy. And there's a whole approval process that happens, and the egos are just insane. And a while ago, one of my producers came to me and he said to me, "Why is it that all of your approval processes go so smoothly?" He said, "It's insane." He said, "The director comes in, a couple of hours later, the agency comes in, then the client, and then they're gone." I said, "Let me show you my little trick." And out of my bag came my pink spray. And before any approval, I would spray it around, just to kind of ease that ego a little bit, you know, because I always feel like ego needs compassion. It's that kind of thing. And honestly, after that, he kept saying to me, "I need it by the bucket loads, just with a trigger spray gun."
How cool is that? So I have a similar story. I used to run a decorating business for many, many years, and it was corporate decorating. And what I learned to do was, as I was just about to get out of my car before I went to see any of my clients, I'd spray myself with a pink spray. And one of the corporates was a huge bank. And every time I went in to see all the different store planners, they would all want to chat to me. "Hey, Penny, come see me. Can we go for coffee afterwards?" And they would tell me their whole life story and get advice from me. And it was so beautiful because our whole relationship changed. And I noticed that too with my wallpaper hangers and my painters and my guys that were on site. Because when they weren't there, everybody used to fight over, "You're in my way, and that's my scaffold." And there was always these personality conflicts. When we were there, everybody laughed and sang, and it was just like a whole different experience. Yeah. And it was so interesting because one of the banks that I did was a massive Standard Bank on the corner of Simmons Street and Harrison, which was a beautiful Herbert Baker building. Now I'm talking 25 years ago, when rag rolling and marbling and all of that was in fashion. And we were given the contract to do the banking hall, which I was so excited about because it was the first time they were trying something new and not just going for the old thick grey wallpaper that they would all very boring, looked like Hessian. I don't know if you remember those. I'm giving away my age. So we ripped all of that off the walls, and I used to teach my wallpaper guys and my painters to visualize pink while they were hanging the wall, grey wallpaper or grey paint. And on one of my courses that I had a few years ago, I had somebody who worked in that branch, and she said, "Wow, that's so amazing," because I used to look at these grey walls and think, "Why do they look pink?"
That's so awesome.
So she was intuitive enough to actually see the energy behind the grey walls. So whenever people, because so many people say to me they hate their corporate life and they want to start their own business and go into it, something new, and maybe the healing field, and that's why they come on my courses and your courses. And quite often I say to them, when you do that, you will then be already speaking to the converted. Whereas I know that anybody that walks into any of those banking halls that I had done, or those office complexes that I had done, would somehow have their heart opened and be touched a little because of the energy we have set in that space.
Absolutely.
So there you actually supporting and transmuting and transforming the uninitiated and the people that know nothing, and hopefully cracking open their heart just
a little bit. Yeah. You know, speaking of that as well, you know, I do quite and you actually put me onto it, but I do a lot of corporate color readings.
Yes.
And what I found fascinating, it kind of started clicking after I did my second or third one. A lot of the men high up, especially in finance and things like that, they would pick pink.
Wow.
And they used to get quite funny because they were like, why? You know, why?
Pink is for girls.
Exactly.
Blue is for boys.
And I said, don't overthink it. We're going to get into it, you know. And it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And then when they kind of understood it, it was awesome. Because they didn't take it so personally, but it was about let that guard down a little bit, you know. And that's what I said. It's not about that you don't love yourself, you know, this is self-love, but it's about that corporate guard that you put up with this wall of I'm tough and I'm this, you know, and not letting anybody kind of in. And it was really, really interesting.
Cool. And that's what I love about color readings, is because people will come and they'll say, oh, but green was my favorite color and I didn't choose one green bottle. Because the way we do a color reading, it's a 9-bottle reading, where each bottle relates to a different part of your life. And we take you through a little meditative process, and then you choose your bottles. And then we sit and counsel you. We chat about what it means and what your strengths are and what your potential is and what's holding you back and how do you sabotage yourself. So, you know, it's always so insightful. People think you're so psychic, but it's actually the colors that you, the client, have chosen.
And what you're saying, like you have an aversion to color. For the longest time, I was always, and I never wear yellow or anything like that. And I now know exactly what it is. And pink, for the longest time, I had an aversion to pink. I always thought it was a pretty color, but I never chose it. I had no clothes. I remember when I got married, my mother even suggested I got married in pink, which was a little strange.
Oops.
I have to be honest, because she had great taste, and I remember thinking a pink wedding dress doesn't sound right.
And how does she not know you?
Totally. I'm really, at that stage, definitely wasn't a pink fluffy, you know. Well, I did have a fluffy wedding dress, but it wasn't pink. But it's interesting because at that stage in my life, when I was getting married, I didn't have a lot of self-love. Ironically, I've got more self-love now that I'm single. But, you know, don't use that. But I did actually need a lot of pink in my life. And I used to bring it a bit in stronger ways. So I was very attracted to the more magentas, I've always liked purple. So I've always had that attraction, but never to pink itself, you know. But now I love it.
Cool. So drench yourself in pink. I have one last little story, because most of what we've been sharing has to do with kind of the corporate side. But I had a client once, I was doing a talk. And this lady listened to the talk, and then she came and saw me afterwards and said, I've just had a little baby. And my elder child, who was the age of about 3, is rejecting both her, the mother, and the child. So badly so that this child wouldn't even stay at home. She kept wanting to go to the neighbor. She wanted the neighbor to bath her, the neighbor to feed her. She was rejecting this invasion in her space completely. So I gave her the pink oil and the pink spray and suggested that she use it every single day. And I phoned her about 4 days later and I said, how is it going? And she said, oh, still the same, if not worse. So I said, okay, just continue using it, please, and phone me when something changes. And about 3 days later, so it took about just under a week, she phoned me and she was in tears. And she said, is this stuff magic or what? And I said, why? What's happened? And she said, my child came home, flung her arms around me and told me how much she loved me. She wanted to help bath the baby and feed the baby. And she'd opened her heart to her at last. And she couldn't believe it. She was completely overwhelmed. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So what I found is that it sounds so weird and you think, oh, really? But I promise you, it's almost magic. And what I love about the pink spray especially is that it calms aggression and brings in love. And that's not only within yourself. So if you're having a meltdown, spray yourself. But also, if you're on the phone to somebody or having a meeting with somebody, I was, for a very short amount of time, about 20 years ago, I was in real estate. Shame. In White River. Oops. Tried really hard, but I can't hard sell anybody for anything, so didn't sell many houses because they had to love it the way I do. But that's another story. But one of the agents was having a meeting with somebody who was trying to do something dishonest, and she was protecting this old doctor who owned this farm, and who was desperate and trying to sell. And this guy was trying to do sneaky things, and she wasn't allowing it. So he was getting angrier and more aggressive, and threatening to take her to the estate agent's board because she wasn't doing what he was requesting. So eventually I creeped to the next cubicle, and behind his head, I took my pink spray and I gave 2 squirts behind his head. It was so interesting because mid-sentence, he actually stopped his ranting and calmed down. And became more rational and more sane. And afterwards, Sue said to me, "Why didn't you come earlier?"
Where have you been all my life?
And I thought, well, why didn't you buy your own bottle? But anyway.
It's interesting that you talk about real estate, because I sold my house end of last year. And before every viewing, I used the pink spray. And not to calm aggression or anything, but for people to feel the love as they walked into the house. And every single person that walked in, whether they put in an offer or not or wanted to buy it, they all said there's something special as they walked in. They just felt this calmness, this welcoming. And I wanted to be just this lovely, welcome to my house, feel the love, because I love that house and I had a lot of great times, and I wanted that to come across. So I also chose pink for that reason as well. Yeah.
So guys, I had said to Angela we're going to keep this till about 5 minutes.
You and I.
You and I. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and look forward to our next little bit of sharing with our next color. And we look forward to seeing you again. Take care all. Bye.
Take care. Bye.